This is Heritage Radio.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Wellness Show with Angela and Safiya. We hope that you're all well, doing good, and starting to improve and implement, should say.
And watching our YouTube videos.
Yes, watching our YouTube videos if you need
to take notes of what we were saying.
And starting to implement some of the suggestions that we have given you over the last 12 weeks. So today, Angela, go ahead. What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about self-care. It's a very up-to-date topic. A lot of people are talking about self-care.
Yes, indeed. Yesterday, Sister Amira was talking about it on her Tuesday show. And it's really why is it popular? Because it's something that wherever you're from, whatever your background, your age, your gender, your situation, it's something that's just important and inherent to our human nature, isn't it? Even animal nature, they do that instinctively, don't they? To take care of themselves. So.
But us humans don't really. A lot of us put others first all the time. Not that it's a bad thing.
No.
Like mothers.
We're going to have a look. Yeah, we'll have a look at all this indeed. What goes into sort of as obstacles to your self-care. But what exactly is self-care, Angela? Can you kind of give us a little sort of idea of how we could define self-care?
Well, it's something you do, anything you do to nourish yourself that's beneficial to your health in a very simple way. Mm-hmm. And it can be a huge range of things, from, let's say, bubble baths to doing your favorite activities.
Yeah, or even meditation and praying and whatever. It's basically taking time for yourself, isn't it?
It's not being selfish. It's taking care of the amana from Allah. For example, our body.
Yeah, that's true. So, and also, it's taking time for yourself. It doesn't mean that you do that alone either. So we'll have a look at sort of different ways to do that. But first,
what it could also mean, before we forget, that you take care of your health. Like, say, a lot of adults, parents, for example, they have a problem, like they're feeling something in their body, like a pain in their body, and they just keep putting it off and trying to figure out what's wrong, not going to the doctor.
Yeah,
we need to. Doctors have a place in our lives too.
Definitely. I mean, it's true that so many times you hear, I've got this like nagging pain, whatever it is, in my knee, in my back, in my tooth, and you ask, well, have you gone to see anyone? Oh, no, it's all right, I don't have time, or it's too complicated, and you're like, but just go, go and have a look, go and see the specialist who will be able to at least diagnose, tell you whether you should do something about it, whether there is something you can do about it, whether it's nothing to worry about, but at least you have gone to see what happens, and whether there is something that needs addressing, because that's part of self-care, is to take care of your body so it functions properly, and you can get about your daily life in a normal fashion without
now we know that
struggling.
It's been, with COVID times, people haven't been able to get appointments.
Yes.
But hopefully now that's going to clear up.
Yes, inshallah.
And we'll get back to going to, if we need to.
Yeah, so this is something for you to keep in your mind. Self-care is about also addressing your nagging physical issues. So we can't really say that women are very good at it, and it's not necessarily because they're forced, but it's just like a natural inclination of women. Obviously not all women, and obviously men can also be like this, but
it's
in
natural,
a general
but we're also
terms
socialized into more, like even being more than our natural inclination. So
an inclination to take care of others. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to be clear, this is what we're talking about, is that naturally we have a predisposition. Our natural role is a carer to take care of the children. We nurse them, we give birth to them, we nurse them, we raise them, we clean their nappies. We, or do all sorts of things like this. And we also often take care of family, the community. We're often the first port of call when someone has a problem, an issue, a worry. They would call, their female friend, things like that. It's naturally women are often, the community supporters. But also what I've noticed is that it's often at the detriment of their own health, the detriment of their own private space, their own time, their own project, their own needs, and they feel, and I this is also personal, speaking of personal, I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that. It's like you feel guilty to say no. So we have some a special section in a few minutes where we'll be telling you how to say no. But also, Angela, are men how are men faring in terms of self-care? Are they better at it, or what could we say?
Women sometimes think men are better at it, but also they can be also not taking care of themselves. Like they're also socialized into doing things for others in a different way. Like for example, I know someone who's new to the country, and they work so hard just to send money home.
Yeah.
Even though they're married now. Yeah. And so it happens, I think, to a lot of them.
Yeah. This is what happens with men generally. It's more the pressure from the expectations as well. Sometimes too high, sometimes justified. That obviously they are there to provide. So women are more kind of naturally, it's more kind of the nurturing, caring, raising side of things, and men it's more about the provision, sending. Obviously there are a lot of women who work hard and send money back home, or help their families financially, but we're talking in sort of general terms. What I find is that sometimes in certain cultures there's been a deformation of the Islamic principle of taking care of parents, where the son is really good-natured and he's full of good intentions, but he then ends up being having a lot of impositions on himself done by the parents who want this, want that, and my son needs to be there, he needs to come and help me, and they call out all hours, and he ends up, because of that desire to do what's right and to do what's Islamically correct, to take care of parents, he ends up neglecting, starting from himself first, his own life and his own health, because it's stressful, but also eventually his own family, wives and children, and that can cause a lot of stress to him and to his partner and children. So it's finding balance, isn't it?
It is finding balance. We have a lot of issues that don't stem from Islam, that a lot of us, our culture speaks differently from Islam, and then we kind of think, well, it's okay, it's not a bad thing to do that.
Then there's another thing as well I find with men, and that is something that they can more easily get out of because they have more control over, is the societal sort of pressure of performing and showing off. Like you have to show you have money, you have to show you're successful, and something that it's not really needed because it's all for the dunya. They want to show that they've achieved material success, the latest car, exactly. They work hard, just kind of to say, I'm working so much, I'm earning so much, or even sometimes, and let's say it, even it goes as far as the charity work that they do, where they have to be seen to do a lot to achieve that sort of societal kudos. And it's do what's right. Remember that thing about the left hand does not know what the right hand does. It's kind of, you don't have to do things so that is being seen. Allah sees what you do, so that removes as well, if you think in those terms, that will remove a bit the pressure as well to do certain things that ultimately are not necessarily very productive, but they are detrimental to you because of the stress it causes and the fact that you are neglecting your family. what is the benefit of being out and traveling and going everywhere, all over the place, and having zero family life, and your children barely see you? It's great. You've done great for the community. Maybe you were the person that needed to do that, needed to sacrifice their life. But try and find some balance. I know some brothers who work tremendously hard for the community at large in other parts of the world, and they try to, as much as possible, have family time.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what? They get a lot of slack for it on social media when they say, oh, I'm having like time off now, I'm going to, okay, they go to Scotland, people are okay, it's like it's a sister Britain, but they say they go to sunny climes or Morocco or something. Oh, brother, you're just give him a break.
Mm-hmm.
He needs that bonding.
He doesn't have to
with the family and the children. This is how
between him and a line is
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many pressures on the community on different aspects, and so this is why we have to really think where we're at. First of all, how we perceive others and how they spend their time. We should be stopping to be a bit too judgmental, because that's what causes the issues of lack of self-care, and also for ourselves. So what I'd like to know, Angela, really personally, when we talk about self-care and everything, it's all very nice. We think about how it can help us. We can imagine, okay, I'm having a nice bubble bath, some time where I just like on my own is quiet. But what does it do inside our bodies? Does it have an effect on our hormones, on our mentally? Well, what's the chemical process of all this?
It does balance your hormones, and when we say it balances your hormones, it reduces your stress. You can think more clearly. You can make better decisions when you're not stressed. Because if you're always making decisions from a position of stress, it's like defensive instead of being able to often like to think and to plan and to make decisions from your values instead of it's an emergency, you must do something. So your hormones, if you're stressed, so 4 important hormones are serotonin, there's dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, and they sound familiar hopefully to a lot of you guys.
They're called the 4 happy hormones, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And so serotonin it affects your mood, it affects your sleep, your appetite. It's called the happiness hormone, and it helps you feel calmer and to be able to focus more, so it stabilizes you. If you don't get enough of it, you get depressed. So you need to think about that also when you're eating. You include nuts and cheese and red meat. Yes, red meat, to increase your serotonin levels. And
so again, we have a connection with food.
Food, of course. Yeah. Everything is affected by food. Like
it's amazing.
If your diet is not it's a poor diet, then and you don't exercise and you don't go out in the sun, then you have low
or
serotonin.
Natural light. Yeah.
Well, that's why
natural
we
light.
Vitamin D is connected to that to help.
I think there's also a connection with through the eyes, isn't it? Like when you see natural light, especially the early morning light. That's why it's so important to get up for Fajr, pray Fajr, and then obviously this recommendation by the Prophet ﷺ to stay and make dua until the first light, until the end of Fajr, and then you see that first light, which is full of blue light, which boosts.
Yeah, and we're in the UK now, guys. Please don't laugh when we say that. You're gonna see the light.
You can. In the morning, that's what I do.
Morning.
Yeah, I tend to do that to kind of pray, not towards the end of Fajr. So I have time to pray, and then make maybe some you can take time to make dua and you wait for that light, and then you can, especially in the summer when it's so early in the morning, a lot of us, we don't stay up, we go back to sleep, but take that time to kind of have a look at that light, because then you're going into the morning where you can have a nap, it's okay, but your brain has seen that blue light of the morning. We don't say blue as in you don't see it blue, but you know what I mean. It's like that light that wakes you up, that gives you that it also regulates your circadian rhythm, the sleeping patterns. There's a lot of really good things with early morning. In fact, it's in some treatment for depression, they recommend that people wake up in the morning when the sun breaks and rises from the horizon for that benefit.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Again, one of the things we're recommended to do by Islam that ends up, being in mainstream science.
We love making those connections on this show.
Yes.
Islam, science.
Yeah.
And basically Islam and science, what Islam tells you to do and how it's proven by today's science.
Yeah,
but
of course.
It's good to still do it no matter what. But it's in our 2022 minds, unfortunately, we like to know more science too, so we can explain it to others.
Yeah, I like, as I said in the past, I like when we can give this sort of bite-sized knowledge of science. So because I'm a great believer that if you understand why you're doing things,
you're more likely to do it.
Exactly, you're more likely to do it and keep at it, because that's kind of part of your motivation. But obviously, the first and foremost, we know that because it's recommended by the Prophet ﷺ, it's coming from Allah in the Quran. We know Allah is our maker. He knows what's best for us. So it's because He made us.
Now we have to find out what He made, like the some of the basic ideas. I guess we're never going to know everything, but it's good to try and understand. So now we have another hormone that is part of the happy hormones, dopamine. It's a hormone that gives you feel rewarded, you get motivated with it, and you feel productive, and it is a booster to your mood. If you don't get enough, again, it leads to depression, low motivation. Now, oxytocin, that's one you get when women have babies. They have,
straight after birth, isn't it?
That to attach with a baby, they feel that happiness. It's called oxytocin.
It's also when when you breastfeed, it's boosted by breastfeeding, connection, holding the baby close to you,
the attachment hormone.
Yeah, skin to skin, all of that.
And then we have endorphins. We hear that in relation to exercise. You get a lot of endorphins when you exercise. That it makes you happy, makes you not even feel the pain when you're exercising, and then you feel it afterwards. It's fine. That's what it's meant to do. It releases in your body. After you start exercising, after like 5-10 minutes, you start to feel that euphoria, happiness. And that's why even if you don't feel like exercising, you know you're gonna get happy in a bit, so you start. And then
so many times in my experience in Taekwondo, our training is most of the time in the evening, and often it's a time when you had a busy day and you're feeling tired. I'm thinking, am I going to have enough energy? My willingness is like, I really do want to go, but am I going to be able to even jog around to warm up?
And I know like that
I go.
And you're an athlete. What do you think?
I know.
Regular commons, people who are not.
I know,
athletes
but
feel.
Whatever your level of fitness, know that from the moment you get up and start moving a little bit fast, slightly faster, say even just walking, your breathing, your movement, it will make the blood circulate better. You will feel so much better, and it will kickstart those hormones going into circulating in your body. And yes, it does help. And after 10 minutes of warm up, that tiredness is gone. And as you say about the pain, your muscle, say you're suffering from muscle soreness from a previous training, which has happened to me many times, and I can barely walk. And then as soon as I've warmed up, that's it, that pain's gone, because the circulation, the blood, the capillaries are expanded, the muscles are warmed up.
It makes you, even if you're asleepy, it will wake you up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just a matter of just doing it. Don't wait to feel like it, just do it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to feel like it afterwards. Now there's two hormones we need to touch upon quickly that are the opposite of the happy hormones. And this is what helps you when you do self-care. It helps you reduce them. So it's cortisol and adrenaline. So cortisol.
Tell us what they are, please.
Cortisol is a stress hormone. When you're feeling stressed, that's the hormone in action. And when you feel like your heart racing and you feel like running, or you feel like upset or something, your heart racing is
or on the contrary, frozen on the spot. That can happen. Yeah.
So it happens when you are under stress. Okay, these hormones are released. The best way, and I'm going to talk about this again. When you have cortisol released, it is not your friend if you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
Because it releases insulin, even if you haven't eaten a drop of sugar.
Yeah, because it saves energy for the fight or flight or freeze
Exactly.
situation.
So you could be in a situation where you're eating healthy, you're exercising, you're doing everything fine, but because you have underlying stress issues and cortisol is constantly being released, you are either even gaining weight, and that's when they say, well, you have a lot of stress, that's why you're gaining weight. This is what's happening.
Yeah. So in this show, we're going to tell you after the break, we're going to tell you how to control these, keep cortisol and adrenaline low, raise those 4 happy hormones, and also what's interesting is that next show we'll be talking about breathing, and breathing is a very, very important tool you have to keep those cortisol and adrenaline
levels. Make
levels.
sure everyone tunes in next Wednesday.
Yes, and then keep an eye on the YouTube channel. You will see those appearing soon after. So we're going to have a quick break, and it's a nasheed by Native Deans that I selected specifically for today, which is called Sakina, and Sakina is basically the God-given a peace that we can feel inside ourselves, calmness. Yes, inshallah, we all pray that that we can all benefit from that, inshallah.
And on FM, this is the voice of the Muslim community, Heritage Radio.
And we're back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.
So now we have explained how we are affected in our hormones and physiologically
and why
and mentally.
We should take care of ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
And how does that affect our bodies?
So now, what can you do? What's the first thing you'd say, Angela, that we should be doing?
We need to set boundaries, which is very difficult. I know for a fact for mothers first. Yes, I'm sure there's dads also who have a hard time setting boundaries, but on a different level. Okay, moms and their kids. And I'll tell you from my experience, I am trying, as a nutritionist, I'm trying to set a certain type of diet in from personal, right? Like you cannot get your kids on every newfangled idea you come across, and I tend to experiment on myself when I follow something first. When also I'm a mother first before I ever became a nutritionist, before it ever crossed my mind. So all the time, those two roles, the mother feeding her children nice, warm, delicious foods for the soul, and another type of food that's good for my body to help me eat maximum for my body to be able to fight the bulge, right? Which as you get older, as you guys know, even for men, as you get older, if you don't exercise, and first you don't need health, but if you don't even exercise to maintain your muscle, you lose it. So at my age now, even if I'm eating well, I've not been exercising very well, so it's been increasing. It happens when you reach menopause or perimenopausal. And for me, the boundaries are very hard when it comes to in the kitchen. It's more felt in Ramadan when everybody wants, oh, can you make this? Can you make that? How do we? And we'll talk about how do we do it, but then you have to put it into practice. So maybe today will be a good reminder for me too. So let's go over it.
So
that's the first thing.
So boundaries is really kind of deciding what is acceptable for you and what is an imposition or something that goes against what you'd like to do, not just because you fancy it, but because you feel that this is really, it would be good for you to not do that, or it would be quite detrimental for you to do certain things. So it's kind of building a little bit of a, you know, of a protective shield around you for things that would end up being damaging, toxic, negative for you, isn't it? Setting boundaries. They can be a bit flexible.
But we see setting boundaries as selfish. We have to stop seeing that as selfish, especially women.
Yeah.
We have to stop seeing it as being selfish. It's not selfish. When you are in a good, healthy place, you can help others better. It's kind of like the explanation of, you know, when you're on the plane, whoever flies, and in the UK most of us do, and they tell you first, if there's a problem, the oxygen mask comes down, they tell you first, you take it, the grown-up puts it on their face, you get the oxygen, then you give it to somebody weaker than you, like a child.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of yourself, you can't help your child.
It's true.
Right? And we can take that example and transport it to any situation. And if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot help anyone else. So that's why self-care is so important. Totally, very, very important.
And also, I think one thing is important as well is don't compare yourself to others. There will always be someone who has more energy, more time, more money, more opportunities to do good and to help others, and for you to see that they're doing so much, and you always feel, oh, I should really be doing this. I should. And then you're like, hold on a minute. You know, you do when you can, but also there are certain times you can't, and you have to be very careful. So when someone asks you, can you do this for me? First of all, you have to, you know, it depends. If it's someone who is desperately in need for you and would be stranded if you didn't help, and you can help, of course, then you're not going to say, oh, is this really within my parameters of everything? You just go and do it. It's easy. That's an easy yes, okay? But then you might have, moments where you'll have to really evaluate that request and say, well, is that something that, you know, are they repeatedly asking me to do things for them when really they could do it themselves? Now, that really could be for a child, I'm talking, you know, or a relative, or, and you can see that they're just constantly asking you just because it's easier to ask someone to do it for them, right? So sometimes you help others by saying no. But basically, if you want like a positive yes to something, is something that would be beneficial, welcome, uplifting. It's an opportunity that you don't want to miss. It makes you feel good to do it. And even if it's a little bit stressful, it can be something that causes you a bit of stress because you're busy, or because it's a bit difficult or challenging. But ultimately, it's beneficial to you, to the other person. You've learned something new, or you're just happy to have helped. That can be.
Well, let me tell you, I there's people who always say yes and they don't set boundaries, and and in their circle people know that. Oh, let's call so and so. Let's go so and so. What happens is you don't want to say no because you're gonna hurt their feelings, or you feel like you're gonna look bad. But what happens if you're saying yes to everything? First of all, you cannot fulfill everything. Okay, and I've seen that with mine. You cannot make everybody happy. You don't have enough time in the day, and then it makes you lose. Like, people start not to believe you, because say you said yes to one thing, I'll do this, and it needs time to do it, and you said yes to another thing, and that needs time to do it, and you say yes, and the other people don't know that you have said yes, so they believe what you said yes, but you haven't been able to get to what you said yes to them. It kind of ruins your what's a good word to use when you say things yes, but you cannot fulfill them.
So your reputation or the trust that people have in you.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
It affects your reputation, and not that you should care what people think if you're not doing anything, but
no, you have to be trustworthy.
But you have to. If you say you're gonna do something, you do it, and then if something else comes up, you'll say, "I'm sorry," or don't say sorry. I already have made plans for something else.
Be honest.
And if you say, but it will just take one this and that. No, you have to be trustworthy in Islam. That's one of the important things. Otherwise, you don't even you can't even trust yourself because anyone can come along and change your plans.
Yeah. And that's what I would call the negative yes, because it's draining for you, it's stressful for you, it's imposing on you, but it's also the other person might be a bit ungrateful because it's not done as well as they thought it would be done, or you're not on time, or you're not as jolly and happy as you could be when you meet them because you've been so overwhelmed. It's repetitive and frequent in terms of the request, it's overwhelming. So basically, ultimately, all in all, it's just very toxic. And you're not doing yourself any favor, and you're not doing the other people any favor either. So what should we do? We should learn to say no. Because that's much harder. Because we want to look good, don't we? We like to be appreciated. We like for people to say, oh yeah, she's so helpful, because or he's so helpful. Because that's our connection with others, isn't it? And saying no is a big, big word. But I think children need to hear no.
Definitely, kids.
Absolutely, from start.
They have to say no. And
people around you need to hear no, because they'll know when you say yes, that's going to be a heartfelt, true, sincere yes, and you'll be there, full attention. It's not always feasible to say no. We know that.
I know it isn't, because some people, they don't care. They don't want to hear no from you. They want you to say yes. And so they'll use
you have to be ready to lose people from saying no once.
Sometimes your family, though. Families can be demanding, and extended families can be demanding, and they make you feel bad, or they know what to pull, what things to say to you to make you do things.
Yeah, but ultimately, then you have to ask yourself, is that the kind of relationship I want to have with my family when it's based on blackmailing and emotional guilt tripping? You have to then have these uncomfortable conversations with people around you who are behaving like this. It is really essential for their own benefit as well, ultimately. And we are very fully aware it's not always possible. You have to work with what you have, okay? We're just giving you the sort of ideal theoretical suggestions. But it may be that in all of the things that we give you as suggestions and tips, there'll be something like, oh yeah, I've not tried this yet. Let's see if that helps with my relationship with so-and-so. And you might be surprised that actually that was the only thing that they needed. It's just to have that little heart-to-heart, sincere conversation, and then it clarifies, make things neat and smoother. So how can we learn to say no?
Well, you could just say no.
Without guilt.
And good, despite how you feel, you just, if you can't do something, say no. The best approach is don't give explanation. I mean, if it's your mom or somebody, they might make you say why.
Yes.
But in general, try to say no, because then if you open that door, people then will start, it depends on them. Some people will take your no, and they'll respect your boundaries, and then there's other people, and you don't know who they are. You might know who they are. You saying no because this and this, then they'll try to still make you do it if they can solve that problem you're mentioning, why you can't do it, or minimize it, or rationalize it. So the best thing to do is say no in the way that you can say no. You don't just have to say no. There's ways to say, well,
more politely or more, yeah.
I'm not available. I actually have booked something at that time, and that's it. No explanations. But what
I'm
else?
unavailable. Yeah, to try and be not as little detail as possible. And actually, I did that this morning. It was not anything bad, but it was someone trying to, on Facebook now you connect with people you don't necessarily know, and they offer you classes of Quran or Arabic or whatever online from abroad, and it's really hard to say no to that. I'm thinking, oh my God, is Allah going to be pleased with me if I say no to an Quran lesson? Yeah, but ultimately it's not provided the way that's the most beneficial for me right now at this point. I can do it other ways, etc. So instead of saying, trying to find excuses to make that person feel better, I just actually said, thank you very much for your your offer, because ultimately it's an offer. Thank you very much for your offer, but I will not take it at this point. Not even at this point. I said I will not take it.
Alhamdulillah.
Because if you say at this point, it could be maybe in the future, maybe in a week's time, I shall come again. Exactly. I just needed to say no and bring it back on my own terms. Now I've taken it in my hands. I've got control now and power over it. I can decide to go tomorrow or a week or a month or a year from now and tell that person, I'm ready now. Without having that constant noise, because it is about, online social media. Now it's getting even worse with WhatsApp and all of this. We get so many messages, so many requests, so many
So
you have to be even more careful.
Don't explain, just say no.
Just say no, but be polite, thank you very much, it's very kind, you thought of me, I really appreciate it, but no thank you. Okay. We're going to have a break again now because it's time for the adhan.
Okay, and then we'll talk about two more ways to say no. 2 more tips on that. And we're back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam. So tip number 2 on saying no.
Nice. So this is still talking about how to create boundaries.
Yeah.
And tip number 1 was to resist the urge to explain too much. And so taking some time, what do you exactly mean by that then, Angela?
Well, you don't say no or yes. I'd hate to say let me think about it. Just instead of saying inshallah I will do it or not, say let me think about it.
So don't take a rash decision.
Yeah, let me think about
either way.
And I will get back to you and give them a timeline. You're not just saying that to put them aside and you're politely saying no, you're really gonna think
sincerely
about
going to think about it. Don't pretend.
Yeah, like an example would be a situation that happened to me is like I was invited to an online workshop to present a business idea, and I listened. Now it looked really, really enticing. I think I talked to you about that. I'm not sure I should be talking about specifics, but at the end of the day, I said to the person presenting the idea, I really like the idea, but let me think about how it will fit with my time and day, because I want to give it a fair shot if I can do it. So I had to go away and think about it, because I know myself, I like to say yes, and then I'm excited in the moment, and there's stuff that I love because the product was something I would use. Then I had to go and talk to my friend, to my family, my husband, to bounce it off them, because they will remind me, oh yeah, that's a good idea, or they'll remind me why maybe you should think about saying no.
And this is why in every contract now you have a 7 or 14 day cooling off period, because they know in commercial situations that often people, first of all, don't like to say no. Second of all, are often on spur of the moment excited, say yes. And when things cool, it's called cooling off period, exactly for that. You cool down, you're much calmer, and you're like, actually, I should not have said yes. And you need to, in everything you do, you need a way out, if possible.
Well, that's good that they thought of it in the law.
Yeah, exactly.
And another one is keep it simple. What do we mean by keeping it simple?
So basically, you would just, my example before, it's just you don't go too much into details about your life or the reasons to say yes or no. You just say no, not right now, or it sounds great, but it's not for me, or no, thank you. Just keep it simple. No, thank you. Just be polite. That's the main thing, isn't it? Yeah. I'm honored that you thought of me, but no, thank you. And I think this is the best and easiest way. Doesn't drag you into lengthy conversations. Always have the reason sincerely in your mind, and you're sincere. You thought about it, and you're sincere about your answer. But you don't feel the need that you have. Don't feel that you have always the need to explain everything in details to everyone. That's also very draining. To justify yourself constantly.
Yeah. And how
trust your own judgment.
Yeah.
Trust that people will have to accept your answer. and just be kind about it. And generally, it is well accepted. And you might be teaching something to someone else by saying, "Oh, she did that. Maybe I should do that as well in my life." You know, so that's an interesting an interesting approach. So yeah, just basically remove all the pressures. There's sometimes self-imposed pressures, as we said. Sometimes it's because of society, upbringing, culture, societal norms. Anything, circumstances.
I mean, again, I'm going to give you an example. Like, I tend to, because we were home a lot and the house was never magazine ready, I would tolerate a whole bunch of mess in the house because the kids are home. You can't keep them, like little soldiers, stand straight, don't make a mess, okay? Now they're grown up, everybody helps as much as in their own sphere, they do their own laundry stuff, but the house still is a bit messy, right? The thing is, when visitors are coming over, I'm going around like and the kids right away ask, "Who's coming?" Oh dear, I did that to me. Like, so when we are here, it's okay the house to look like, let's say,
cluttered and messy
and cluttered. But when visitors come, God forbid,
that's something should be out of place.
The dust, the layer of dust on the baseboard. Like, hurry up! Make sure the bathroom is clean. Make sure this, make sure that. It's like, I don't like myself when this happens. Like, I'm thinking,
why don't we do this for ourselves, for us as well?
We should, right? Because you enjoy the house when it looks nice. But there you have it. I'm burying myself here, guys. Examples of caring what other people think.
Yes, I think this is a natural thing anyway. And also, sometimes I see this as a nice motivation when you have visitors. You're like, okay, it's a bit of time when we do think a bit more deeply.
And my kids will ask it, so who's coming? If I make something more complicated, then...
But that presumes that before the guests arrived or were invited, you had your happy, motivated yes in your head. Yes, I'm going to have these people over.
Yes.
So you do it really happily often,
of course,
isn't
obviously, it? You want them to think highly of you. So a nice stay at your house and a delicious food are all good. I mean, you want your family to.
This could be part of self-care as well.
I always tell my kids, this is not a hotel or a restaurant.
No.
You can't expect a mom to have great ideas for cooking for 30 years every day without any, again? You know?
Yeah. And also there's something that we need to mention about self-care. Self-care is not necessarily just going, as we said, going off and doing something on your own just for yourself. It could be something you're passionate about and you're making the time for it. So for us, for instance, to be totally honest, it's to be in the studio once a week.
It's turned out to be quite the self-care event.
We get to do something that's fairly unrelated to our families, at least in terms of timing. It's the middle of the day and we're out and about in beautiful Manchester.
Topics that are very important to us.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted.
Yes.
To our friends with each other.
Exactly.
And hopefully benefiting some others.
So this is part of our self-care, and believe us, it does require preparation and it's a little bit daunting as well because it's out of our comfort zone and usual stuff, but now we're getting used to it.
Tell people on the radio.
And so this is our little self-care. So work can be self-care if it's done again with the happiness and the benefit that it brings. But there's still, I'd like to talk about me time as part of self-care and that is something, I don't know if it's my French upbringing, because the French are very much like this. The children are one side and the adults on the other side, and they like to have their meals in quiet. When the children are young, the children will always, not in my house in England, but in France, my in-laws and my brother and sister-in-law and my brothers and sister-in-law would have, and even when we're younger, would have dinner first, and then the father generally would come home. My mom would stop work as she was a teacher, so she finished a bit earlier in the day. Dinner would be ready. He would come home from his shop, sit down, they would have their meal because it was much later in the evening, children had to go to bed. So we had to go to bed 7, something like that. My dad, that's time when he was coming home from the shop.
That sounds really nice.
And they had and it's very, I don't know if it's a very French thing, but it's like the children have their meals and then they're in pajamas, they're bathed and everything.
It sounds French to me.
And
because
then the
Greek
parents,
families are very chaotic.
and then the parents have their meal together. Later on in the evening, it might be also the case in Italy, like southern climes, I suppose, maybe Italy, Spain, I don't know. But France, that's how it is. And here it's very different. So maybe I still have this a little bit in my mind that I have to protect my little bit of sphere, my personal space. So my children know this, that I'm very, very strong on my me time, but it really took off when my 4th one was 4 and I started going to, yes, believe it me or not, belly dancing classes once a week, and I had such a great time because for 1 hour, a couple of hours, driving there, it was fun. It was good workout, good exercise, but it was just a lot of fun as well. And I was going with a friend, so it was combining everything together. And for an hour, or a couple of hours, I said I needed to drive there, I was extracted from my usual obligations. I would come home to a big mess.
In this country that we live in, where the UK is so geared to working people, like people who go to work, people who are retired, and people stay at home. The UK is not very. It's not made for those people. And when you are busy at home or you're working and you need those activities outside of your house, because we don't have a lot of community spaces.
Yeah. We need more community spaces.
I mean, a pub is not a community space for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
what another thing as well is that often now that I teach women Pilates and Taekwondo, they say, oh, it's so great. I get my little time off and I switch off. I do something good for me. But then sometimes some women, they have to cancel because the dad is not there to babysit. And I'm like, brothers, you are not babysitting your own children. Did you hear my voice? Huh? By telling our voice?
A mom voice.
Yeah. You are not babysitting your own children. Please. You are caring for your children. Yeah. And it was your turn so that your wife was doing something else that was her own thing. Please, 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 please remember that. So sisters, don't feel guilty asking your husbands to spend time with their own children while you do your own thing. Okay. That's it. I've said it.
Is your rant over?
Rant over. But we do something else as well. We go for a coffee in a French patisserie nearby before the show. So we make it like a
fun day.
Like it's like our day out, connecting with each other, thinking of new ideas, and just.
I get a lot of benefit from.
Yeah.
Our Wednesdays.
And we can't wait to think about other ways of other days when we can do something similar or different, but that would give us a sense of achievement for the day. We're not just hanging around spending money in a shopping center, which can feel good at the time, but not necessarily afterwards.
I'm not big on shopping therapy. It might be good for some people.
No, and what happens with shopping therapy, let's quickly on that, is that it taps into dopamine, which is just the hormones for reward, and it really is it's a booster, but it's a very short-lived one. So after a while you're like, I spent so much money, okay, I've got these new shoes, but that's it, the excitement's gone. It's important to find something that lasts much more into the longer term, and you build up, and often things that are related to your body, physical, mental, spiritual, these are the things that expand longer. So last few minutes, Angela, what are our tips to create more me time and more boundaries?
We have a lot of tips.
Let's go through them.
So first, get outside into nature. You get your fresh air, your sunlight, and it'll just be so good for you, right? You walk briskly. Try to go to the parks
Then you can get your body moving a bit more. You can just start by walking, jogging. You can go swimming. Now there's so many women-only classes if you want. For men, it's a lot easier for you guys. So just go out there and do your thing.
Yeah. Get your body moving. I mean, improve your breathing while you are doing these activities. Make sure you have a good breathing technique. And next week we're going to be talking in detail about it. So please tune in. Something very good called a cold therapy. So you take a cold shower. You can do that. Apparently, it really boosts your mood.
Yes.
It's backed by science. There's a guy to look up called
Wim Hof. W-I-M Hof. H-O-F-F.
You'll be
Yeah.
so amazed about what he's doing.
Now, one thing I like is to have a bubble bath. When especially after training, I put quite a hot bath, and I put some magnesium flakes in, and that's it.
It took me a while to warm up to that idea.
Oh, it's lovely. And you know what? I'm gonna just all of my secrets now. I have my tablet and I watch a series.
Oh wow, that's good.
In my bath.
My bath.
It's like combining two things for me time.
Make sure you don't fall asleep.
Yes, it's lovely. It feels really good.
For me.
Yes.
Reading a book depends on what you like to read. Anything that relaxes you, read. Okay, practice positive self-talk. A lot of us have a problem with that. I believe we're our worst critics. Yeah, inside talk. You guys know what we're talking about. We're gonna have an episode just about positive talk, because it's a big thing. It affects our health and our mood and everything. So, need to be kind to ourselves. Okay, the way you want your friends to talk to you. Don't underestimate that self-talk. You can listen to an audio book or a podcast. That's quite relaxed when you're doing the dishes or washing clothes, folding clothes, something like that. You definitely practice daily gratitude, either by internalizing it and saying Alhamdulillah and doing some dhikr, or by writing it down.
You can also drink water.
Make sure you drink your water.
So and with mindfulness, so you don't just gobble down. Do it the sunnah way. Sit down, 3 sips, and then take a break.
It's so important to hydrate. Part of self-care. Write in a journal. Now, for me, writing in a journal, I don't do it every day, but it really helps to put down my gratitude. You can also do it if you're angry and you can't argue, tell somebody off, and you write it down, and maybe then just get rid of it if you don't want it to be there.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
And I think we'll just do one last step is to improve your sleep quality, and you can listen again to our past show on sleep to get more. But there's loads of things. You just have to find what rocks your own boat.
Yes, you can knit if you want.
Yeah. I mean, for me that would be so stressful. So it's not for me. For me, it would be more just to go out and do my training, my taekwondo training, and I would love that. That would make me very I go through the double doors of the training hall, and I become a student. I forget all of my other caps. I'm not a mom. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a wife. I'm not a cook. I'm not a psychologist. Counselor. Anything. Counseling the children. I am nothing but a student, and it's so refreshing. So inshallah, you will find what helps you to create more me time and boundaries, and we hope that you find this really helpful. And this concludes our show.
All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. And just a reminder, if you have any questions, write to us at info@heritageradio.org.uk.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Online and on FM, this is the voice of the Muslim community, Heritage Radio.